Alright guys, today's episode of Game Master Tips is all about picking a TTRPG. So, you want to start running a game? Now it's time to figure out what kind of game you want to play. Do you love the idea of horror? Then maybe something like Arkham Horror, in the names. Or Aliens is a good choice. Do you want something a bit more fun and a little silly? Then possibly the Power Rangers RPG. There are dozens of different games out there that can fit almost any niche. From number crunching to extremely simple, silly, or intensely serious. But what you play is all up to you. In this video, I will try to describe a few different games and give you a kind of an overview of how they kind of run. To start, we're going to go with the classic Dungeons and Dragons. There are multiple editions. The one everybody knows currently is 5th edition. Very simple, easy to get into fantasy game. But it has its other iterations, like D&D 3.5 for the kind of people that want to get a little bit more creative, a bit more freedom to it, but a lot more number crunching. So if you're into really getting deep and dirty with it, with the numbers, skills, making sure everybody's different from one another to a really finite concept, then that's the game for you. But then there's also, if you're looking for something a little bit more intense and difficult, D&D, well, AD&D, 2nd edition. It's a lot more, in a sense, a little bit more bare bone. It's a little bit more restrictive with how you can build classes and characters, but the beauty of it comes from its difficulty. Every decision, every dice roll really matters for it and can cause life or death situations to get even more tense and make you really have to think about your next move. And personally, I think it's a fun addition, but it's not for the faint of heart. Now, we're going to get into something a bit more fun that unfortunately I don't have a book for, which is Arkham Horror. For Arkham Horror, it has this feel of noir style detective kind of mindset with the overarching idea of the elder gods of like Cthulhu and such breaking into the world slowly and corrupting it, causing everybody to feel like they don't really have a chance to fight very well, but that's the fun of it. I've only played it a little bit, but some people I know are die-hard fans. So if you're looking for something that's a bit more oomph with role play and decision making in the horror scene, that's definitely the way to go. Now, in a small side note, I will bring up everybody's favorite other iteration of D&D, Pathfinder. Pathfinder, right here, is a really thick book, and it's got a lot of similarities to D&D. Specifically, it's almost right in between D&D 5e and 3.5 with its difficulty and customization. Its rules have been simplified just enough to where it's easier to get into, but it's got the complexity of 3.5. But this is 2nd edition. So if you really want to get into it, I'd recommend it. It's fantasy RPG. You can add horror into it, just like 5th edition and 3.5 and 2e. You can make it silly if you want to. You can make it a bit more crazy, emotional, intense. But speaking of silly, we're going to get into one of the ones I personally love because it's based all around role playing and silliness, and you can make it serious if you want to, and that is the Power Rangers tabletop role playing game. I've gotten to play it once, and it is a very, I want to say simplified, but not really, version of D&D. The main book has a few little issues and idiosyncrasies. Like, some things aren't fully explained, but they tell you a bit more about it online once you get on the site. But unlike Pathfinder and D&D, there's only 4 stats instead of the normal 6 in this, which are strength, social, smarts, and speed. All of them can make your character feel a bit different, a bit more unique. And if you love Power Rangers, this is definitely the way to go. You can get any of the colors you want, make your character however you feel like it, or you can even try to recreate the original Zordon era or the Disney version or whatnot. And you can have a lot of fun with it. But then there's going to be a lot of monsters. You can kind of come up with your own if you want to in that game, but that's up to you. Now, getting on to a couple other RPGs, back into the horror concept is the Aliens TTRPG. That game, for what I've seen and read about, can be crazy. Obviously, it sounds like it could be a little bit boring with nothing but like the aliens and possibly predators coming after you nonstop. But with how it's designed, you're always on your like the tip of your toes. You're always questioning what's gonna pop out next and possibly just kill you. And that's the fun of it, especially for the DM because the aliens, you don't get to fully control them as a dungeon master either, or game master. The tables for them are incredibly diverse on how it's going to jump out and possibly kill you as a player. But as a player and a character, you get a really diverse concept of system shock, I guess you could call it, on certain situations. You might suddenly start breaking down, getting scared, and snap, charge in, guns blazing, not thinking anything, or run, drop your weapon, and whatnot. And it can really change up how the game plays. And to be honest, I really want to give the game a shot. But I have to go find the books first, which is the difficulty of a lot of these editions. Uh, but lastly, I'm going to touch on one more game before getting a little bit more into how to kind of pick the game for yourself, and that is the Star Wars TTRPG. If you love Star Wars, you love the concept of having your friends become Jedi or you running an entire empire for them to topple over, that could be the game for you. The difficult part in it, in my opinion, is everybody's going to want to be a Jedi or a Sith. So you got to figure out a way to make it feel more unique to pick something else. Picking something more diverse like a smuggler, a scoundrel, bounty hunter, a very lightly attuned force adept who just happens to be nothing more than a pilot. Pushing people into those directions to make a more cohesive squad can be really cool in my opinion. And I've gotten to play it once or twice. Unfortunately for me and my friends all tried to pick force users and didn't go as planned as we got stuck on a deserted planet filled with trash. So, up to you as a game master and how you want to push your players into being something other than the Jedi, Sith, or Force user of their own alignment. But now we're going to get into the meat of the video. Picking which one suits you the best. And that's something that you can only do for yourself. If you love a specific IP, like Power Rangers, Star Wars, Aliens, uh, I know G.I. Joe, Transformers, and weirdly, surprisingly, My Little Pony, all have their own RPGs. And that is going to really diversify your options. And in my opinion, they'll be one of the best things for you. Being able to pick up a book and kind of flip through it, see if you like it. Go to a local game store, test it out. If you haven't bought the book yet and somebody's running it, jump into a one shot. See if you like how it feels. See if you would want to run it for people or if you just want to play it for yourself. Star Wars, for example, has dozens of options for every little thing. Force sensitivity has so much going on in it. Then you have the technicians that focus on repairing ships, but they have their own demolition expertise and so on. And then you have aliens, which I've already gone over a little bit on. It's horror feel, and it's push to keep you on your toes. And you have Arkham Horror, all about being a detective and such. And picking out of all of these can seem a bit difficult. And that's okay. Because difficulty, once once you've picked out the game, disappears. Other than having to read, I guess. Uh, but most of these editions, you can find them online. Uh, Power Rangers, not so much. Same with 5th edition, you might have a little bit more difficulty finding those. But Pathfinder 1st edition, D&D 3.5, 2E, I wouldn't recommend 4th edition just from my own personal uh, experience with it. But if it's your thing, go for it. But at the same time, if you're going to pick a game, also make sure other people will enjoy the game. Because nothing screams problem like inviting all your friends over, pulling up the Power Rangers role playing game, and finding out all of them preferred Big Bad Beetleborgs or Transformers instead. And now all of your planning feels a little eh. But there's not too much difficulty in the Power Rangers RPG because it's completely compatible with Transformers, My Little Pony, and G.I. Joe. So you can kind of diversify a little bit. But then you have 5th edition. If everybody's feeling like it's a little too rigid, you can jump into D&D 3.5 or Pathfinder 2nd edition, which kind of open things up a little bit. But picking the game, you have to really love what you're about to run. So if you have your own concept going on in your head on you want Cthulhu to slowly be manipulating the government of the United States, and a ragtag group of private investigators have to shimmy through all these dark crevices and evil places to figure out and stop the worshippers from bringing him forth, and that's the game for you. Jump in head first. Or if you just want a simple run-in with a dragon, D&D, any edition is great for it. Same with Pathfinder. But from here on, I want you guys to kind of figure out what kind of games you want to play and enjoy it with your friends. So, from me to you, enjoy gaming and find the best game for you.